What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Brinson. I'm your host. This is the early Week 2 Lines Look Ahead show. I can't remember if it's on the podcast or just on the YouTube. I think it's just YouTube. But anyway, joining me to discuss early Week 2 lines, a very, very happy John Breech. Oh, it is on the pod feed. So if you're listening, you can check that out as well in audio form. I wonder if we'll discuss what the Bengals line is next week.
I don't want to discuss it. I'm out. I'm leaving. Bye, Brinson.
We're actually not going to discuss the Bengals line, but
in that case, I'm going to stay. Thank you.
I should note, Pick Six fans, it's that glorious time on the sports calendar. Football is back. You listen to Watch the Pod. You've got your best bets in now. It's time to follow your action, and the best way to do that is with the CBS Sports app. Features lightning fast live scoring for every pro and college football game and all major sports, of course. You can track your favorite teams or just individual games you have interest in with a click of a button. It's also the way I get breaking news alerts, watch live sports, and stay on top of all the latest updates. It's totally free whether you have an iPhone or Android, and it's the easiest way to keep your finger on the pulse of every game that matters. Go download the CBS Sports app today. Let's start with Thursday Night Football. The very first Amazon Prime game in the history of, I guess it is, right? It is the first Amazon Prime game, right? I was going to say something like bold. I think it is the first Amazon Prime game, and it's going to feature the Chargers at the Chiefs, a fantastic matchup. That's what happens when you give the NFL $3 billion to broadcast games and hire Kirk Herbstreit and Al Michaels, amongst a host of other people. That they roll you out some of the good stuff, the uncut, high octane stuff, and that's Chargers at Chiefs. The Chiefs -3 over under 54 Breech. My initial instinct here is that while this line won't move a ton, the way that the Chiefs looked in a post Tyreek Hill world, with the way that offense operated against the Cardinals, just slicing and dicing them, finding all these different receivers. Clyde Edwards-Helaire looked really good in the run game. I would anticipate that this line might shift a little towards Kansas City, although division rivalry, the Chargers look good. They took care of business against the Raiders in a quasi-home game on Sunday afternoon. Maybe it won't move too much. I can't see the total getting cranked up. If anything, it might come down a little bit. But with that, shorter week, tendency of Andy Reid to run, maybe, if they get a lead, they could pound the ball. Maybe. We'll see. You can see the total drop maybe a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think this will move much, but there are a couple injuries to watch out for. Obviously, Keenan Allen, we don't know if he's going to be on field Thursday. He had to leave Sunday's game with an injury, and that's a huge deal. If this game turns into a shootout and you're Justin Herbert, you want to have all your weapons. You don't have Keenan Allen out there. That's a problem. We don't know if J.C. Jackson's going to play. He didn't play in week 1. Brandon Staley said maybe he plays in week 2. So that's a coin flip. That is an important guy that you want out there if you're the Chargers trying to stop this Chiefs defense. And Britt, I think you hit the nail on the head. It is in this post Tyreek Hill world, you have no idea what the Chiefs are going to do. They actually bring the element of surprise because they're not throwing at the Tyreek Hill on 50% of their plays. You don't know if it's going to Juju Smith-Schuster or Marquez Valdes-Scantling. You do know it's going to go to Travis Kelce at some point, but it's still completely random. Andy Reid loves it. Patrick Mahomes love it. I have a hard time seeing the Chargers kind of keep up if this turns into a shootout. I'll say 2 more things, Brinson. It is the Chiefs home opener. Patrick Mahomes is 14-2 in September. And man, I think 11-2 in prime time. I'm not betting against Patrick Mahomes in prime time. I'm taking the Chiefs to cover, I think.
Yeah, you can see if you're watching on YouTube, youtube.com/pick6. And if you are watching, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn on alerts. That has already drifted up to -3.5, -105. So it's just a little bit shaded there. If you want to take the Chargers at +3.5, you have to lay that -115. I think, I'm probably going to take the Chiefs here. I don't think I had a very good week 1 against the spread. That's okay. Short week, Andy Reid, his preparation. And I feel like what you saw from the Chiefs was very much a focused, like, hey, look, we know everyone's been talking about Tyreek Hill. Everybody's been talking about the Chargers and the Raiders and the Broncos all offseason. We're aware of that. And we would like to remind you that we are still the gold standard for this division. I think that the Chiefs take care of business. I would much rather have 3 than 3.5. And I think if I was betting the total, I might wait and do it live and take I think I'd lean the under, but might wait and do it live depending on how the game sort of starts out and gets moving, because I think if the Chiefs can get a lead, they will really slow the game down. And the Chargers can obviously throw it around, but the Chiefs are not afraid to squeeze the clock. The Dolphins at the Ravens on Sunday. The Ravens -4.5, over under 45.5. This line has actually already drifted down to 4. Total has not budged. The Dolphins' performance against the Patriots, really taking care of business against New England, and Baltimore, of course, absolutely dominated the Jets, although it was a slower start for them. Not surprising to see this north of 3. I think this is another one that probably sits right around this number, though.
Yeah, and the weird thing about this is that, look, the Dolphins couldn't have had a tougher matchup in week 1 as far as Mike McDaniel making his debut and having to figure out how to make his offense work against a Bill Belichick defense. That is not easy to do, and they looked good out there. I mean, Brinson, you're the president of Anti-Tuanon, and I'm not sure if you're going to gain more fans or fewer fans this week, but I actually was somewhat impressed with Tua. Tyreek Hill had a huge game. Jalen Waddle had a huge game. And the Dolphins have so many weapons that I don't see any way this game turns into a blowout. I have to think the Dolphins are going to keep this close, if not win it. So I think my initial lean here would be Miami to cover.
Yeah, I thought the Dolphins were very impressive against the Patriots. They were, you could actually, I would say that the Patriots were very unimpressive against the Dolphins. How about that? There was the one big play to Waddle on, it was 4th and 7 with like 40 seconds left in the half, that would end up being a jailbreak to the house. It's like letting that happen is so un-Belichick like, and I do think that changed the tenor of the game. And the Patriots weren't very good. I think the Ravens are a lot better. I would expect Lamar Jackson to have a much more impressive game. This is also his home opener. That place gets loud. I will probably take the Dolphins. I'll probably take the Ravens here, but I think that this is a pretty good line, given how Tua and that offense looked with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, who are just very difficult to defend. I would probably lean towards the under here, but we need to see the weather. I think both teams could be a little more methodical and run the ball a bunch, which would lead toward the under. But both these teams can certainly have explosive plays. So I don't have a huge lean on either one of those right now. We'll just watch the weather. Of course, it could always come down. Sunday, the Colts at the Jaguars. The Colts were so lethargic on offense. A couple big drops by some receivers led to not getting any points. They eventually went to overtime, where they tied the Houston Texans thanks to some kicking shenanigans, which, of course, we'll get to in the recap. The Jaguars had the Washington Commanders, oh my God, I actually called them by their real name, sort of backed into a corner and let them off the hook. What do you say about the Jags as a 4-point dog at home against Indianapolis Colts here, Breech?
Yeah, this is an interesting one because, going into Colts Texans week 1, I thought the Colts were going to roll in that game. They did not. And because it's one of those trends, they haven't won an opener in 8 years, now 9 years, the longest active streak. Now your initial lean might be, hey, the Colts are going to roll in this game. But no, because they can't win in Jacksonville ever. They haven't won in Jacksonville in like 8 years. It has been absolutely forever. Weird things happen when the Colts play in Jacksonville. But I will say that the 2020 score, I don't know, that was indicative of how the game was played, because the Colts came back, obviously Matt Ryan's first game, they're trailing 20-3. They kind of figured things out, moved the ball downfield, but it wasn't just the missed field goal in overtime. They had a 4th and goal where they went for it in the first half and didn't get it. So they were moving the ball. They just couldn't score points. Matt Ryan had an interception. He lost a fumble on a bad snap, or it wasn't even a bad snap. He just mishandled the snap. So there's just all these weird mistakes that happen in week 1. So I feel like if the Colts can clean things up, I lean toward them, but gosh, just because of all the bad luck they've had in Jacksonville, I'm not comfortable with it, but I do think they're the more talented team. So I am going to lean toward that Colts -4 right now.
Smash spot for the Jaguars here for me. I like the Jags +4. I think that gets closer to 3 by the time kickoff. I think it'll drift a little bit like the Washington line did. And Jacksonville, I thought looked pretty good. Some missed throws by Trevor Lawrence. The defense just couldn't give up a couple huge plays to Carson Wentz and Jahan Dotson and Terry McLaurin, where if you let stop either one of those, and maybe you win the game. I wasn't very impressed with the Colts. I think they're going to take a little bit more time to get going. So I'll take the Jaguars there. And I think that would be an early lean and an early bet for me if I were making one on that game. All right, let's take a break. And when we come back, more week 2 lines next. The Commandos at the Detroit Lions. The Lions opened up as a -1 with an over-under of 46.5. It has already drifted to -1.5. Detroit somehow covered against the Eagles. I mean, what an annoying backdoor cover by the Lions. That's what they do. That's what Dan Campbell does. He bites ankles and he backdoor covers. This is a little different beast, though, because you're favored and you have a Washington team that offense look good. I think I would probably lean towards the over here at 46.5. I don't know if it'll climb at all, but Detroit's defense is not very good, and I think you can score on them. Carson Wentz should have some success there, and you know that Detroit is not afraid to get involved in these like wild scoring affairs. I think we could see plenty of points in this one too.
Yeah, and the other part is that it's hard to say if the Commanders are actually good because they only beat Jacksonville. Like, what does that tell you about a team? We saw Carson Wentz go full Carson Wentz with 2 interceptions in that game that really kept Jacksonville in it. But then he showed the Carson Wentz of promise of 2017. He threw 4 touchdown passes. It looked like he had some chemistry going with his wide receivers, whether it was Curtis Samuel, Terry McLaurin. So I actually liked what the Commanders did against Jacksonville. And as you said, Brinson, the Lions defense, there is a lot to be desired there. They are not that good. Their defensive backs are not that great. And I don't think they're going to be able to keep up with the receiving core of the Commanders. So I actually really, really like the Commanders in this spot, especially as an underdog.
All right. Well, if they can't keep up with the Commanders and they're able to score, I think we get we say like the Lions don't quit. They'll just find some explosive plays late in the game if they're trailing, and that's how you backdoor that over as well. That over in Philly Detroit over. I took it live, I think at 52.5 when Philly scored their first touchdown. It was like, Detroit scored first. They scored the first touchdown. It was just a sweat-free W on that. All right, next up for us, we have a Sunday game. Oh, man, this used to be a gem for CBS. Now, not so much. It's not as good as it used to be.
It's going to be the game they let us announce. That's where it is on the pecking order now.
Patriots at Steelers. The Patriots opened -1.5 with a total of 41.5. It has already drifted to Patriots -1. I know that Bill Belichick owns Mike Tomlin, but I thought Mitchell Trubisky was serviceable. Mac Jones has a back injury. I don't see the Steelers are a smash here. Like, there's a decent chance Mac Jones doesn't play, and the Steelers are a dog at home. Give me the Steelers all day in this one.
Yeah, but what's the flip side of that? Is there's a decent chance TJ Watt doesn't play, and also the Steelers offense did absolutely nothing against the Bengals. The Steelers won because the defense had a pick 6 and 5 turnovers, and they still almost lost. And so if the Steelers,
I'm glad you pointed that out.
Yeah, so TJ Watt likely out.
TJ Watt said as he was walking off that, like, you could see him out. He said, "I tore my pec." Like, it feels like he is more than likely done.
Almost certainly out of this game, and so that's a huge,
out of this game for sure.
Huge, devastating loss. So this feels like a game that's going to be 7-3. I don't know who's going to win, but when you have if Mac Jones is out, the Patriots backup quarterback, you have TJ Watt out. Steelers lose half their pass rush. And then you have a Steelers offense that could move the ball, and the Bengals likely. I don't think they'll be able to move the ball real well against the Patriots. I think this game's going to be close, and just because you're going with the Steelers, I'm going to go Patriots here. I just don't think Belichick's going to fall to 0-2.
Okay, I think it's close to Steelers favored. So if you like the Steelers, take them now. I don't know how much lower this this total could drift, but I mean, like I would probably lean under on this one, right? I mean, it looks like it's gonna be just a nice warm day in Pittsburgh, so there's no real weather issues to worry about. But man, I mean, these two teams might not score very many points at all. So this total could close at 39.5. That wouldn't be shocking. We saw that with Chicago with that weather, how quickly that dipped. Speaking of the Bears, they are at the Packers on Monday Night Football. The Packers are -9.5. The over under 44.5 for this game. Those lines have not moved at all since they were set. I mean, I don't see how this rendition of the Packers can be like a double-digit favorite over a division rival. Although the Bears were almost like just completely worthless they were worthless in the entire first half. They had like 27 yards in the first half, no points, and then the 49ers just completely folded. Chicago picked up a huge win at home in their opener. This is a different beast, though. The Packers defense should be able to completely nullify the Bears, and you would hope that Aaron Rodgers would get something going with with that rush defense in Chicago and like just normal Green Bay weather in September, I would think that this is a AJ Dillon, Aaron Jones smash spot.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how I feel about this. I mean, the Packers didn't even score 9 points against the Vikings in week 1, and now they're favored by 9.5. I mean, that seems a little bit crazy. And like you try not to overreact to one game, but the Packers offense looked absolutely horrible in week 1. And I'm not sure that they can fix all of their problems in one week.
Worth noting, they looked horrible on the road in Jacksonville last year against the Saints in week 1, scored 3 points against the Saints. It was like, oh, Rodgers is broken. And then they dropped 35 on the Lions in an obliteration.
Right, but that was a weird game where they're playing in Florida because the Saints couldn't play in New Orleans. And
it's like
wasn't a divisional game, and they had Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
I mean, there weren't questions about the Packers offense last year that exist right now, and they haven't answered those questions. Last year it was, can the Packers offense still be good? This year is the Packers offense good at all? Because we still don't know. And I think the Bears can hang with them. I would lean Bears here at 9.5, just because I don't think the Packers can score more than 20 or 24 points.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you like the Bears, you would you would take it now because but I mean, like, I'm not laying 9.5 a week ahead of time on a Sunday, Sunday Night Football and then it closes at like 7 and you feel like an idiot. Like, this isn't going to rocket up to 13.5 or anything like that. I would be, if it goes to double digits, people will take the Bears, even if it means like pinching your nose and doing so. Oh, we got a Monday Night Football doubleheader next week. I guess I realized that. I didn't realize that. Cool. 7:15 p.m. Eastern. Tennessee Titans at the Buffalo Bills. The Bills open minus 9.5. The total open at 49.5 or 50. Excuse me. It has dropped down to 49.5. Just a slight move there. Buffalo, of course, getting 10 days rest because they played on Thursday, or 11 days rest because it's Thursday to Monday. And the Titans coming off a tough L against the New York Giants, where they had a chance late to win after giving up a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. I think Mike Vrabel's team is pretty good about bouncing back, but if you were picking the spot to bounce back in, this is not the one. This is not where you'd want to do it. Probably a pretty good look on a potential teaser, 7-point teaser for the Packers and the Bills, where you get them to 2.5, and you just hope they win by a field goal. If Buffalo looks anything like the team that we saw last Thursday in the opener against the Rams, like, they are going to truck stick the Titans.
Yeah, and look, there is 0% chance the Bills overlook Tennessee in this game, even though Tennessee just lost to the Giants. Because number one, it's Buffalo's home opener. Number two, it's a primetime game in Buffalo, which they rarely get to host Monday night games there. Number three, they probably still want revenge from the Monday night game last year when the Titans won 34-31 because Buffalo went for it on 4th and goal from the 2-yard line with like 10 seconds left. And they didn't get it. So, and like you said, Brinson, they have that extra rest that I still can't believe the NFL schedule makers did that and gave the Bills that huge of a rest advantage from the first to second week. That's insane. I love Buffalo here. I don't usually love 9.5 point spread, especially when it involves two good teams. I don't think the Bears Packers are necessarily two good teams, like we just talked about, 9.5. But yeah, I love the Bills in this spot. They might win this game by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, it wouldn't be surprising at all if they just rolled them. And, they've been home, getting rested. Tennessee's not banged up. They're still trying to figure out what's going on with their offense. Tannehill had some nice plays, but it was like, Dontrell Hilliard ain't coming in and taking out, the Bills defense. That ain't going to happen. Finally, the second Monday Night Football game, the Vikings at my Eagles. This line opened Eagles minus 2.5. Over under 48. The Eagles are now minus 3, and the over under has climbed up 1 point to 49. The Vikings looked fantastic. Justin Jefferson is a problem. Like, he's just going, like, if you can get any kind of decent number on Justin Jefferson to win Offensive Player of the Year, that's a pretty good bet. Kirk Cousins MVP bets are kind of live, and at the same time, the Eagles looked like a truck stick too, man. They were rolling all over AJ Brown. It took a little while to get going. Jalen Hurts a little rusty. He had like 5 rushes for 35 yards and was 0-5, but eventually started to get it going against that Lions defense. Minnesota's defense better, but I still think they should be able to move the ball in the air, and in that ground game that they have. I like this game a lot. That's a high total for that second Monday night doubleheader. But I would certainly. I don't know which way I would go here. I don't think the Eagles are going to get out to like 3.5. If they do, I would love the Vikings. So their Cousins in prime time, never a great spot.
Yeah, you mentioned Cousins in prime time. He is 2-9 all time on Monday night. And both of those wins are against the Bears, so I'm not even sure they technically count. But I will say the Vikings absolutely were the team that impressed me the most in week one of the teams that played on Sunday. And look, Kirk Cousins, that offense did whatever they want. It didn't matter if the Packers covered Justin Jefferson. It didn't matter if they didn't. He got the ball. He put up huge yardage. Their defense shut down the Packers offense, and they did it so well. They were confusing Aaron Rodgers. They can confuse Aaron Rodgers. I have to think they can do the same thing to Jalen Hurts. So if you were going to give me 3 points with the team I thought was the best in week one that's not named Buffalo, then I'm absolutely going to take them and run. So I like the Vikings right now with the +3.
Yeah, I would think that this line creeps. I mean, like, it's possible that Kevin O'Connell just changes who the Vikings are. I mean, they ran way more 11 personnel. They got the 3 wide receivers out there. Then they did it like less than 50% of the time last year, which is bottom 5 in the league, and it was like at 75% or something crazy on Sunday. So I would think that this actually ends up being a pretty high scoring game. I think I would lean towards the over. I'm not sure how much it'll actually climb. I mean, 49 is a pretty large number, for a Monday Night Football game. People do like the over, of course. And I think if you want the Vikings, I would probably take it now. Maybe it sits at 3 because but there's a chance I think it comes back down if people jump all over the Vikings, believing that they can come in there and that they're a totally different team than we thought before the season started. All right. That'll do it for us. Those are some week 2 lines. Early look ahead. Of course, we'll be back for a recap podcast after Sunday Night Football ends. So make sure and hit subscribe and turn on alerts on the YouTube page. You will get a notification 30 minutes before we go live. And then you'll get a notification when we go live. Myself and John Breech will be joined by Ryan Wilson, who will, I'm sure, be humble and modest about the Steelers win over the Bengals. All right, talk to you guys in a little bit. See ya.